Super cool radio.
Hello, everyone. I am Matthew Thomas. This is Super Cool Radio. I have a great show lined up with me. Joining me at this time, two really great musicians. Recently, their song Devil's Red Mistress was featured in the film Harvey, and they released a new album entitled Third Time's the Charm very soon. Please welcome Mike and Phoenix of Raven Tree.
Hey, how's it going?
Hey, everybody.
Nice to see you guys again. I know we had some issues the first time we tried this, but I'm glad we actually got this working. You guys are here with me. It's going to be a good time.
Yeah, perfect timing. We just actually finished up the last finishing touch to the new album, so it was perfect timing to be able to then zoom in with you.
Fantastic. But before we jump into this, I feel like I might know some of you guys' answers, but to start this interview off on a fun note, what music have you guys been listening to this week?
I've been listening to, so this record called Ruin by The Amazing Devil. I've been a huge fan of them for a while. I've actually shared them with Mike a couple times. He's like, dude, you've got an eclectic taste of music. A lot of the stuff that I listen to is not the style that we play. So Ruin by The Amazing Devil, that album came out last year. And then another album, self-titled by a group called Lorna Shore. It's a very heavy metal album that's really, really awesome. I think it won some awards in a couple like metal magazines online. So that's another really good record. I've been bumping in the car a lot. And Mike's trying to spill water all over us.
Challenged.
Yeah, he's like, let's fry the laptop. That'll be the technical difficulties today.
Well, what's a good image to be on camera? How about just me just dumping water on this laptop?
Yeah, don't want me around anything that plugs in, dude. So I've been listening to Joe Bonamassa and Marcus King, a lot of Joe Bonamassa and Marcus King, Larkin Poe, and some Tyler Bryant. You know, some of that Southern new blues stuff that's happening right now.
Right on. So a lot of great music, a lot I'm not familiar with, so I'm definitely have to check out some of that great music. It's kind of funny hearing what Phoenix, your answer, and then hearing Mike's answer. Very drastically different.
Yeah,
a lot. In fact, and Phoenix has another group. The first group that he has is Marzi. And they're like a prog metal group.
Yeah.
Completely nothing like I've ever listened to. I listen to it now. I have all their albums, right? But, very different than what we do with Raven Tree.
Yeah, definitely. Phoenix, you have a very diverse music taste, but also as a musician, you're very diverse with the style you play with Raven Tree, but also the prog metal as well. You're very diverse.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I think it's just growing up. I listened to just a lot of different stuff with my parents. My parents were musicians. And so my mom is a classically trained pianist. And then my dad was just a good old, 70s rock and roller dude. And so, and both of them listened to a variety of stuff. And so I think that really informed my musical decisions and choices because I've been open to everything.
For sure, definitely, it really does help. And obviously, for me this week, it's been Alice Cooper, Iggy Pop, and I was actually listening to Limp Bizkit while I was paying my.
The new record?
No, I went with the Significant Other one, but I did listen to their new one. So
awesome.
So that's what I've been listening to this week. But focusing on you guys, obviously I'm chatting with Raven Tree. So before Raven Tree, how did you guys get started as musicians?
Me? Yeah, go ahead. Oh, the youngest first? All right. Since I've been doing it the least amount of time out of us.
It'll be a shorter story.
Yeah, it'll be a shorter story. So I'm 25 now. I started playing when I was 15. Like I said before, my parents were musicians, but they didn't really play much around the house. My mom would play piano sometimes, but it was really more so just listening to music all the time in the long car rides to grandma's house, in the house. And so I naturally started singing along and just humming, and I always loved it. And then about the time that I was 14 or 15, I had really started getting into this band called 30 Seconds to Mars. And it was like the first show that like I picked to go see. My parents had taken me to shows, but this was the first time where it was like, Mom, Dad, I want to go see this band. And it was also my first time like in the pit. It wasn't in like seats. Like I went down to the front of the stage, got to see him, and I was just like, this energy, this vibe, it really brought it all together for me. And within a few months, I was taking vocal lessons and guitar lessons. And I eventually picked up the bass and drums and just was like, I want to do all of it. I want to do everything.
That's really awesome, and definitely the first time like in a pit or like stadium room only shows, it's definitely a very unique experience, especially for the first time, because you don't know what to expect. I can remember my first time. Well, my first concert was Cooper, but I was in a nice opera box because I was at a fancy theater. But yeah, first concert's always very memorable. Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I got started, around 12 or 13 with a garage sale guitar. But for me, it was a little bit different. When I was growing up, we didn't really have a lot of access to all the media we have nowadays, right? So it was either the radio or records, and that was it. And, it's that age for where, as a young guy, you're 12, 13 years old, you're leaving comic books behind, but it's so you're picking up record jackets and album covers, and they become your new superheroes. And then I think I was about in 8th grade, and I found an old yearbook with a couple of hippie seniors in it, sitting there with some electric guitars. And that was my first realization that I could do this too, right? And I started really thinking like, maybe this is a way I can establish my own identity myself. Nobody where I grew up, I mean, I can't say nobody. There were some people that played, but they were mostly older, adult musicians, and there weren't that many in our school. So I thought maybe this is a thing I can do to kind of step out and do some things that I enjoyed. And it just became a passion for me from there. But, first concerts was Van Halen at Madison Square Garden. And like you guys say, that first arena concert, that first concert in general is just always that mind-blowing experience. And, a little story, about 2 years ago, I took my youngest daughter to her first concert here in Baltimore, and it was Panic at the Disco. And she was really excited, but she, I waited until right before the lights go up and everything, and I just started watching her because I wanted to see that face, right? And she was 14, and man, the lights went up and music and all of this stuff, and you know how it is, that arena thing, and boom, and I watched her face, and I thought, there you go. Yep.
Yeah, definitely, for sure. The look on obviously a kid's face the first time seeing a person seeing a concert, it's truly incredible. Just the look of amazement with the lights and the music and everything. It's really awesome.
Yeah, it's funny, and it still happens. And I'll tell you, do you remember we did? So when we did the album release for Devil's Red Mistress, and it's been a couple of years, one of my friends from school had come out, and he had brought his son. I don't know if you remember this, but we were getting it. At one point I looked out, and the kid's mouth is just hanging open, because for a lot of younger guys or younger kids nowadays, they see everything on YouTube and they think they understand it. And then they get out to their first real live rock show, and it's still, whether it's a club or it's still that thing. And it's great to see.
Oh, definitely. Like, watching YouTube and like seeing it in real life, like YouTube, it doesn't really translate to, like seeing it in real life. It is completely different, seeing live music.
Especially with rock music, right? Rock music I don't want to say in its an arena art form, but it seems to have taken that thing on where big rock needs to have that thing with people, right? We did a live stream, what was it, 2 years ago? How long was it?
I think it was last year.
Yeah, 2020. And it was just, it doesn't translate. It just doesn't, So.
Yeah, it's definitely the interaction with the crowd. I think that's what really makes a show. Is just like they feed off your energy, you feed off their energy, and it makes it a show.
Yeah, for sure.
So obviously, for you guys, so how did you guys first meet and decide working together? Was it like did it just happen on site, or like maybe we should give this a shot? Like how did that come about?
I definitely want to hear you go first on this one.
Yeah, so we met, 7 years ago now? I think it was about 7 years ago.
2015. Yeah.
So
Holy shit.
Yeah. So in 2015,
wow, I hadn't thought about that.
So I had only been I had just started playing in the Baltimore scene with my group at the time that I fronted, and we were booked at a Baltimore Harbor show playing with Raven Tree with Mike and the lineup back then. And, we immediately took to each other. It was really cool. I was 18 and the two guys that were with me were like, I think 16. So, seeing these older guys that had been doing it for a while and had been around, they took us under their wing, and it was just really cool to kind of, they thought we were really good, and we're like, awesome, thank you guys. And, gave us advice and encouragement. And so we just kind of kept bumping into each other within like the Baltimore music scene.
Oh, we went out to Atlantic City too.
Yeah, and then Raven Tree invited us to go do a show in Atlantic City, so we all traveled up there together and got to do that. So that was really cool. So it was a lot of that for a couple of years. I'd say maybe 2 or 3 years. And then back in 2017, 2016.
Yeah.
No, when we did Devil's Red Mistress.
Yeah, that was fall of 2016.
Okay, so then one day Mike hits me up and goes, "Hey man, we're doing this record, and we don't have a bass player. Our bass player that we're gonna have, it fell through. Do you want to come play bass on this record?" And so I was like, "Sure, let's do it." So
I was so fucking desperate, man. I swear to God. So like Phoenix said, so I actually had Phoenix popped up on my radar probably 4 or 5 months before we played the Hard Rock, and which was the Inner Harbor Hard Rock. And I had gone out, a local DJ here, Matt Davis, he was a DJ at 98 Rock, used to do these showcases every couple of weeks. And I'd gone out to hang out one night on a Monday, and Marzi was playing. And I just remember these 3 young guys up there really kicking it old school. It's prog metal, but they were doing it as a 3-piece. And I'm like, and they were great. And I thought, wow. But, the singer, I thought, man, that kid's got something, right? And it kind of went in, and I was just like, yeah, these guys have something. And then lo and behold, like a few months later, we had that show at Hard Rock. And like Phoenix said, we went out, did a couple shows together throughout the fall. And then we just stayed in touch. As 2 band leaders, we were kind of commiserated and whatever. But then when I went into session for Devil's Red Mistress, I had a session bassist who was working with me. He did the first session. I think we'd done Superstition, got the tracks done for that. And the next day he's like, "Yeah, I really don't think I have the time for this." I'm like, "Well, dude, I got time booked. I mean, okay." And I was so desperate. I'm like, "Phoenix, will you please?" He's like, "Yeah, man." And, we did the sessions, and then by the end of it, you were just kind of like, "I kind of feel I should just keep playing in the band with you." I'm like, "That works with me." So there we are, 7 fucking years later.
Yeah, time flies.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. It feels longer with stuff because like anything that happened pre-2020, I automatically just add another year because like I don't know when it was, but it was probably sometime before then. But yeah, it's really awesome. But was Phoenix your first call? Was like once your bass player didn't work out, you're like, was he your first call to make?
He's the only call.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I did. I didn't. So I was in the military for a very long time, and when I got out, I had gone to college here in Baltimore a long time ago. I came back to here because I loved it, and so I didn't come up in the scene. I didn't have a natural network of anybody. So when I kind of like was on the skids, he was the only guy I really knew. But Phoenix, I think there was also more than just the music. It was this thing that some people have. Phoenix has it, guys. Other folks that I've worked with in the military had it, and it's this level of intensity and commitment, and it's beyond motivation and desire. It's an absolute focus of I'm going to achieve and accomplish this. It's beyond type A, right? And Phoenix, I think that's what I saw that in Phoenix early on, even at that first show. And that was where bringing him out to the session made sense. And we had a drummer that we still work with, Jeff Gardner. He was there, and it was three guys that were absolutely committed to making it great as we could make it in that moment. And that's the thing that more than anything else, I think, was really what was the initial bond, was recognizing that we have that thing together, and we just continue to build on that.
Yeah, definitely. And talking to you, both of you guys yesterday, like I could tell Phoenix, like you're very motivated and driven to accomplish stuff and to be the best you can. Like I can really tell with obviously in the music, but also with your personality as well.
Thank you.
So it's really cool that you guys, to me, it looks like you guys work very well together. I can tell from the music, interacting with you guys right now. It seems like you guys work very well together.
Yeah, I mean, you build a team over time, right? When I was in the Navy, I was in a small unit type of military unit, and building teams is something that I've experienced over a number of years, where it takes a unified commitment. It really does, and when you have that, you can build so much on top of that when you have that common commitment and drive.
Definitely, commitment's very big with bands, and it's nice. You have to be really committed to each band member and the music if you want the band to move forward.
Yep. Yeah, and I think there was a while back. I actually called Phoenix and I said, "Dude, are we creating our own challenges by trying to drive too hard?" And I think what you said to me was like, you and I have a set of standards that we adhere to. We push ourselves to meet those standards, and I think you said something along the lines, there's nothing wrong with that, and there's nothing wrong with, looking for other people to work with that meet that stand, not drop the standards. Mm-hmm. So I can't remember exactly what you said, but it was something along those lines. And it's true, you really need to have that. Everybody has to be at the same level of whatever it happens to be, and if it's not, Phoenix and I have just realized that over time that if people want to jump on the Mike and Phoenix train, great. And if they can't keep up, that's okay too, right? We're just going to keep moving on. And that's what we've been doing for a few years now. So.
Yeah, it's, standards are, as you said, very important with stuff, especially like you have to have the highest standards for yourself to keep progressing, keep moving on in the way that you guys have been. Yeah, I think so. Otherwise, you don't have anything. You start kind of drifting, and the next thing you know, you're not really doing anything anymore. And I've seen that with friends of mine, and just happens. But something very important I wanted to discuss with you guys. As I said in my intro, you guys are releasing a brand new album very soon, Third Time's a Charm. So you were kind of talking about it earlier. You guys were listening to the music, to the masters. So how is the album progressing, and how was it actually putting the album together and recording it?
It's been really awesome. So the last few recordings we've done, we did the Devil's Red Mistress album, and then we did a few singles here and there. Every step of the way, we've been trying to find the right process for the writing, for the recording of it. And I feel like this time, Third Time's the Charm, that's why we're naming it that, is we've really kind of keyed in to, yep, this is how we're going to do it from now on. It's the first time that me and Mike really wrote a lot of this stuff from scratch together. Whereas like Devil's Red Mistress, pretty much like 95% of that was already written when I came in. I might have added a few suggestions, but not really any writing. And then the singles a little bit, but this was the first time where it was really, we each had ideas, brought them together, and then created the album from there. So that, I think that's a really cool thing for this record that's going to make it not a lot different, but different in a nice progression. And then in terms of the recording of it, I think both of us have agreed that this is probably the smoothest process it's ever been. We're pretty much there, 99% mark. It's almost done. We are just putting the last little touches on it. Hopefully we're going to have it soon for everybody to check it out, because it's awesome. It's a nice culmination of the last, I guess, 7 years of us kind of finally feeling like this is what we've been trying to do. Here's the sound, and it's not a, oh, hey, here's the last album, we did it, we finally got there. No, it's like, hey, this is the beginning. This is now a new beginning of, we finally have achieved where we wanted to be for so long, and now we can move even far forward from there.
Yeah, I think, what Phoenix is alluding to here is that right when we finished up that second record, Devil's Red Mistress, up until that point, the first and second record were pretty much kind of a solo project of mine where I was using pickup players for everything. And as Phoenix came on board, you had just finished your audio engineering program. Mm-hmm. And over the last few years, he had been developing his skills and his chops. And then about a year ago, it was like, we had been messing around with some stuff, and I heard some things he was doing. I'm like, let's do this next one ourselves, right? Let's have you produce it. We'll put it together. And that was a song that we released as a single called Swing Me, which is also going to be released on this next album. It's the writing itself, like Phoenix said, is the first time we've collaborated as writers. He brought some completed songs. I brought some completed songs. We brought pieces of songs, and we sat down with all of it, and we both worked together to bring it around. And, it's, for me, this was a breeze, because, I'd asked Phoenix to be the producer, really kind of take charge of it. And in the past, I had to write all the songs and inform the rhythm section and all these other things. Now, all I had to do was just come in with the songs, write some lyrics, and do some guitar solos. And that was, Phoenix, you do it. So that was kind of nice for me. But what we found along the way is that as terrifically as we get along on stage and as friends, a writing partnership really came about that was like, wow, I didn't expect it to be as easy. And I also wasn't expecting to hear these songs go from a really good song to a great song because of that collaboration, and that's where it's like, he hears things differently than I do and vice versa. And that's that push-pull or that, ooh. And the other part is that there's no ego, right? It's like, well, I want to try it this way. And it's like, well, okay, let's try it that way, And if it works, great. And if it doesn't, that's cool. We'll try it a different way. And that you don't have a lot of that clash of, that we've heard from other folks where it's like, I want to do this, but the other guys don't want to do that. And la, 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 la. And it's like, neither one of us have time for that shit, We just don't.
Yeah, I unfortunately hear that a lot with bands. And to me, it's like, if you find something another way that works, awesome. If you don't, then you keep moving on with what you got. But I think it's cool, obviously, with you guys that the no ego involved. We're like, hey, let's give it a shot. We'll see what happens. But I am curious. So for Phoenix, how was it producing this, this album? Was it, a different challenge for you, or were you ready to do this?
I was totally ready to do it. I had, like Mike had said, we had been toying with the idea of self-producing for a while now, because I believe when we did Devil's Red Mistress, so I was still in school at the time. But when we were finishing that record up, we ended up having to.
That's right.
We ended up having to do some tracks ourselves, and so we had gone to where I was going to school at the time and booked some time there, and so I had done some tracking prior. So I had already done a little bit here and there, so it wasn't a total leap of just like, hey, Mike, I know you've never worked with me before in this capacity, but like, let's dive in and do a whole album. We had dipped our toes in the water a little bit and knew like, okay, coming from a bandmate relationship, we had already been in a, band and producer relationship a little bit. So I don't think it was as big
cold.
As it could have been. So I was totally ready. After we had done that single Swing Me, we were all really happy with it.
Yeah. Wow. That was a real wake up. And I mean, it's like Phoenix said, I forgot about that. Devil's Red Mistress, the producer that I had hired to do the gig evaporated about halfway through the production. And, at one point, even with him being there, I remember you took charge of a session one of the initial full vocal sessions where the producer's just sitting there completely checked out. And Phoenix at that point is giving guidance and direction to the engineer. He's getting on the talk back and giving me guidance in the booth. I mean, it was like, oh, and that's right. And then we had to finish up the vocals on our own because that guy completely disintegrated. But yeah, and so yeah, like Phoenix said, it wasn't completely cold. And we had done some other things, you know, some singles and some other things. So it wasn't, you know, completely new to work together in this capacity.
Yeah, it's good. I mean, you guys already had the relationship of, you know, a producer band, so I think that helps, and you guys just build off it. Kind of with what I've noticed with bands who are, you know, like 10 years or less in, like, you know, the second album, they start to hit their groove. You know, it starts to, you know, build off what they did with the first album. But it seems like the third album for many bands are like, that's where they really hit full force, and like that's where they get their sound.
Oh yeah,
yeah. I think that's a really accurate statement. Like Phoenix said a few minutes ago, we had struggled trying to capture our sound or the vibe and the energy of our live shows. And one of the things in 2015, when I was touring regionally, the first album, was people would come that were at a show really excited, bought the albums, all of that. But if it was just online, the album wasn't selling just from spins and streams. It was our live show that was. And so going into the second album, we took that approach of recording live in the studio, thinking that maybe that was it. And that got us closer, but not quite there. And then as Phoenix, his production and engineering chops developed, I think you wound up clicking it at one. I just remember you saying, I think I know what we have to do to get what we do there to translate to our recordings. And it was a very old school approach. Phoenix, I'll never forget, we were tracking something, and the first time I'm on the guitar and he's twiddling these knobs, I'm thinking to myself, this sounds really bad, right? And I'm like, I don't know. Okay. And I play and he goes, now check this out. And he brings everything up. I'm like, wow, it sounded amazing, because he was taking a very Jimmy Page approach of carving out the sounds that he hears in his head. So all I'm hearing is the guitar, but he's hearing everything else in his head. And he makes the guitar in his head fit that. And I thought, wow, okay, you know, I think this is going to work out great. And it really has. So this next album is really exciting, just from the writing. You know, lyrically, I took a different approach. The first two albums were kind of dark, you know. This is a little bit more rock and roll. There's more just, I don't know. I guess it's not quite as dark.
Yeah, no, I don't think so. I think even some of the lyrics that I helped write aren't super dark. They're all kind of, and I mean, not that they're like positive, you know, not that they're like, hey, go out there and get it, you guys.
Yeah, we're not.
But it's not as doom and gloom.
We're not walking on sunshine here.
Yeah, but it's definitely, you know, one of those. You know, a lot of the songs. You know, there's some love songs. There's some I don't know what to call them, adventure songs.
There's
I guess.
Some sex songs, right?
Yeah,
you know?
and then just good old rock and roll. You know.
Yeah.
There's some songs about making a deal with the devil and you know having to fight him, and like there's just it runs the gambit.
Yeah. It was much more fun, and it was just.
And I think the environment we created for ourselves in approaching the record like this,
Mm-hmm.
I think it was conducive to not being so melancholy and gloomy in the writing process. I think because we were having a lot more fun this time around, because we felt a lot more relaxed. We felt a lot more like, hey, you know, like, yeah, we set deadlines for ourselves. We set time, but we also knew like, hey, we're doing this on our time. We're doing this the way we want to do it, you know, and let's just, if we get to a point where we hit a deadline and we're like, damn it, we didn't make it, but we're really passionate about getting it a certain way, then let's do that. And you know,
and
we've done that. Maybe we've come back maybe like 2 or 3 times and go, you know what? We're able to do it. Let's do it. Let's redo that guitar part, or let's redo that vocal line. Yeah. Because it's just like everything else is like right there, but that just needs
we're
to
in
be
total control of our own shit.
Yeah,
so if it goes out and it sucks, that's our fault, no doubt. But so let's make it as great as we can. And the other thing that was interesting for me was that Phoenix brought in a drummer, Andy Ham. He's a DC area drummer, does a lot of stuff. So for me, when I was getting back the tracks initially that Andy had done with Phoenix, so I had no idea what the drums were going to be like. And it was very fresh to me what Andy brought to the table, you know, from a drum perspective. It was not intuitive to, I'm a classic rock thinking guy. Andy came in with a completely different approach. And between he and Phoenix crafting the rhythm of these songs, it really inspired me. I came back, we changed the entire melody and lyrics to one of the, was it Progressive Tree?
Yeah.
And, which isn't that's a working title, but there were moments where it really, I'm going to go back and change the lyrics or change a melody or rewrite the whole chorus because I'm feeling different because of this interactive quality, right? And not having to do it all myself. So that was cool. And it also, it's just been an advance from where we were before.
It definitely sounds like you guys are really like clicking together as a whole unit, but it's also cool that it's not the burden's not completely on like everybody. It's kind of spread out a little bit. Obviously Phoenix still has to produce it, but it's cool that you get a rhythm section back and like it makes you want to like make the song better, make the song the lyrics fit the song more. I think that's really awesome. And like with you guys being self-produced, is you have goals, you have deadlines, but at the same time you can still kind of go at your own pace and have more fun with less stress of we're paying studio time to do all of this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's true. I think go ahead.
I was gonna say, I think that the best word to use, we can be a lot more adaptive. We can adapt as the situation changes a lot more. And because we have such a good relationship that we're, again, tying in the whole ego thing, is that it's like we're open to, because I knew going in, bringing in that drummer, it's like, okay, this is going to be a little different, it's like, but I know when we get there, when we get to the end product, I know it's going to make sense. And my being open to hearing that stuff is awesome. And the same thing with me, Michael presents stuff with me. I'm like, I'm not sure what you're going for. He's like, hold on, but let's just do this. And then we get there and I'm like, oh, cool, I get it now. So I think, having that, whereas, in the past, sometimes when you're working with other people, sometimes, unless you find the right one, they can be very, against maybe changes or ideas. They're like, no, this is the way I always do it. And this is the way we're going to do it. It's like, well, hold on. So being able to really adapt as much as we want and are willing to has been a lot of fun.
Yeah. When I was in the military in the teams, one of the things that I learned is that nobody has a handle on the best idea, right? And you have to, the platoon commanders and the platoon chiefs that I had, the good ones, the great ones, were a lot like Captain Kirk, right? They'd sit there and they'd listen to everybody, starting with the junior man first. And I say man because there were only guys, it wasn't, there weren't females in the unit. But and I think in that regard, I've been able to not be such a hard on, about ideas that may not fit not like Phoenix said, I don't understand what he's trying to say, but having the confidence and the relaxed and vibe of just saying, okay, just go ahead and do it and we'll evaluate it later. Right. And just let's giving each other the space to push the edge as far as we can and just see.
So Devil's Red Mistress was featured in the movie Harvey very recently. So how is it for you guys? For like you guys see a song of yours in a movie?
It was really, really gratifying and a little self-validating, I think. But even more than for us, we've had some long-term fans. Folks that have become friends that have been supporting the band and thrown out for several years now. And so it wasn't just, a little bit of relative success for us to have achieved that thing of the soundtrack, but being able to share that with these long-term fans and recognize that their contribution to us and their support of us over the years that we as a collective band and fans have been able to get there together. And for me, that was really important because, you're playing the clubs and you're out there and you're doing your thing. And sometimes you feel a little like, all right, we're beating our head against the wall. And you have these people that come out to every show who are just so supportive. And you want to be able to show them that, the time and effort and the energy and the emotive support that they've given us pays off as well. Does that make sense?
Well, yeah, people, you have to go places as a band, but you need support to do so. And I think that's, because people showing up to shows, it's like if no one showed up, you'd be playing in a room by yourself.
Yeah, I mean, it's all for them. It's all for them. And so our success is really theirs as well, right? So that was cool. But it was a learning experience going to Hollywood, walking the red carpet.
It was a lot of fun. I had never been to California before, so for me it was really, really fun to kind of get to do the premiere and also just be there in California, get to feel Mr. Hollywood. It was really cool, you know.
Yeah.
And we got to, we went to a couple of the famous bars, like what was it, the Rainbow Room?
Yeah, I went to the Rainbow.
Viper. Got to go to see a bunch of legendary clubs. Just we had a whole week where we just immersed ourselves in the culture that births Raventree, pretty much.
Yeah, it was really neat.
And then when our song is like the second, I think it's like the second song in the entire movie. I think the movie opens up and it's it's not really like the opening is not really like a song. It's just like a melody that goes, and then the very first big scene. All of a sudden, me and Mike are sitting there and tapping each other's legs like, that's the opening riff of Devil's Red Mistress.
Yeah, and it was really cool is they played the whole song.
Yeah, the whole song plays through, in the background, because not to spoil the movie, but this doesn't, but they're in a bowling alley, and so the song is essentially playing over the bowling alley PA, so it makes sense that it's going the whole time, and so it fades in and out as the scene goes. And so,
it was really kind of gratifying because all the other, there are a couple of other bands that were on there too, and it's like, they didn't get the airtime that we did. And that was,
that felt really awesome.
Yeah, we were very, very grateful and appreciative. The film is called Harvey, and it was released for worldwide release last week. So it's on all the major streaming platforms now. And, Johnny Alonso was the producer on that. He caught our act right as we were finishing up Devil's Red Mistress in the studio. Johnny caught us at a Halloween show in 2016. And I guess he liked us or thought, he kept tabs on us. And then last year, out of the blue, he's like, hey, I've got a slot for a song. What do you guys have for me? And I'm like, hey, you're here, So it's like 4 or 5 years after he saw us, he reached out to us. And that was really neat,
That's always really cool, and you don't know it's a connection or a person who's going to approach you in a few years. You never know when that's going to happen, but it's always cool. They saw you in 2016, and now your song was featured in the movie Harvey. That is really awesome.
Well, here's a crazy story. So we were playing a show at the end of August, and it was one of those, everybody's at the beach, and there were maybe 40 or 50 people at the show. We had a great set. We played it like we're playing Madison Square Garden, like we always do. But it's kind of like, all right, well, that was a great show. I put my guitar away. I turn around, and Johnny Alonso is standing there. But he's also standing there with somebody else. So afterwards, we're talking and everything, and it turns out that this guy has a foundation. He does a lot of events. Okay, he really liked us. Now he's got an event scheduled in Vegas at the end of April that we're going to be performing with Tantric and Butterside and a few other groups out in Vegas come April. So we're really excited about that. But like you said, you play because you're driven to be great as you possibly can be. It's not about hoping this or anything or wondering if anybody's out there, but it's those moments where, wow, we did a great job and somebody was there to see it. And now we've been able to get an opportunity out of that, so it's great.
Exactly. You never know what opportunity is going to come your way, but also, you gotta obviously play like you're in Madison Square Garden every time. That's what you gotta do. But really awesome to chat with you guys. As I'm wrapping up this interview, if anyone's curious, where's some of the best places to check out Raventree online?
Well, I would say go to youtube.com/Raventree. That's our YouTube channel. It's that easy, youtube.com/Raventree. And we've got the first 2 albums up. There's a bunch of live stuff on there. The first single off of the new album is called Feed Your Need. That's up there. It's a placeholder lyric type video. I think you have a copy of it, right, Matt?
I do.
And so that's out there. And what else is on YouTube?
The albums, lyric video,
some behind the scenes stuff.
And then we're on all streaming platforms, the major ones, Spotify, Apple Music, the works.
And if somebody wants to go out and help support, if you go to our website, raventreeband.com, we have a variety of merch and other things on our T-shirts and stuff. And, It's all there. And I'm trying to think. Facebook, Instagram, of course, and all the bigs. So
definitely, I'm going to drop some links in the description. Make sure to check it out as well. But you guys started off 2020 very strong. You got the new album coming out very soon, and obviously a great show coming up in Vegas. So what's kind of the plans for the rest of the year for Raven Tree? What is 2020 looking like for you guys?
Promoting the album and trying to do some shows. We're trying to get a little more outside of our area. Fingers crossed. This Vegas show right now is in the books, so hopefully the world doesn't explode and we can get some more shows booked. And then after that, we're never ones to just sit on what we've done, so we're probably going to get right back into writing some new stuff.
Yep.
So
I've been we still have other material for Raven Tree that we just haven't gotten to yet. Like Phoenix said, we're going to continue to promote, and we have a local show, local to DC, at the end of March, and then we've got the Vegas thing. We do have, I'm not allowed to talk about it yet. There's a festival event coming up at the end of July where there's some heavy hitters that we'll be opening for, but I don't think all the ink is quite dry on that one, so I just can't really go into that. But Phoenix and I, we've had our eye on something that we wanted to try for a long time, which is like a blues rock, kind of more of a classic rock, but more of a blues Americana type of thing. That it won't be a Raven Tree project. It'll probably be a step to the left or a step outside of that box. But in the meantime, we'll probably tinker with that and see what we can make of that in the next few months as well. And you've got producing a number of things. You've got something for Roadrunner, I think.
Yeah, doing a couple of things for some labels. So that'd be pretty cool.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's really awesome. Very happy for both of you guys, obviously for Raven Tree, but also your outside projects as well. Congrats on the producing for major labels. That's really awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Matt.
Of course, and please check out Stream Support. Give a like to Raven Tree. As I said, links will be in the description, YouTube channel, Facebook, website, all that great stuff. Make sure to check them out and be on the lookout for the new album, Third Time's a Charm, when it is released. Mike, Phoenix, Raven Tree, thank you guys so much for hanging out with me.
Thank you.
Matt. Thank you.
Of course, and I am the host as always, Matthew Thomas. Thank you so much for watching and listening to Super Cool Radio. Stay frosty.